Very well. How are you?
Everything is good. Much better
Nice.
now that I listen to the new EPICA record.
That's always good to know.
Let's talk about Spiral. And, reading from the press release that the name was taken from a sculpture that basically stands for renewal and inspiration. Do you guys
Yes.
feel better as a band now?
Not necessarily better, because I think at every moment of time you do what is in your capacity. Um, but I think we are more a unity, and that's also part of the renewal, because in the past we used to work a bit more separately on our own songs, and then a later stage coming together and work on them together. Now we had three writing camp sessions, and with Omega we had only one. And that was already a step forward compared to older albums. And now we had three sessions, and then we could get much more done together. And I think that was kind of an organic process that we were missing, and what we really desiring to have back, because that was something that bands in the past, in the 70s, they could only work together. There was no this internet to send each other files, and both are having their advantages. So we try to keep the advantages from both possibilities.
Yeah. And, how long were those writing camps?
They were 3 times 5 days. So we arrived like on Monday and left Friday evening for the weekend.
Yeah. And were you guys able to, write, many songs during those 5-day periods?
Yeah, the basis of all these songs were then already, we still did them at home. But then there we were sitting together, sometimes this guy with that guy, sometimes, and also the producer, Joosti, was there. And he was often sitting together with Simone to work on vocal lines for the ideas that we had already. And as soon as there were some catchy lines that, and sometimes they sang the lines we had already in mind ourselves, sometimes something completely different. But then when it comes back with some fixed vocal lines, then you can finish the songs also, because without vocal line, you don't know sometimes in which direction you have to go. But when you have a clear vocal line, then you also know which way to finish the songs. And that was a very nice interactive way of working that and next time we maybe do even 5 of these sessions.
But it's always good to bounce ideas, face to face instead of writing an email and being misinterpreted somehow,
Yeah.
and sounding probably not in a way that people might read it. Anyway, but it was good overall when you guys were like face to face, bouncing the ideas. Do you felt like it progressed better than just being at home and exchanging files and ideas?
Yeah, it's like you said, when you send files to each other, there's easily things getting misinterpreted, or you try something that you think somebody meant, but actually he meant something completely different. And while you're there next to each other, you can right away try it the right way, so you don't lose any time over over misinterpretations. So yeah, it's much more time efficient as well, and it's nicer to really be together and work together. That creates some kind of chemistry that you cannot achieve by the digital highway.
Yeah, I think it's important, when you're in a band, you really need to like each other for things to work.
Yeah,
And
and I especially respect each other, because we are already together for so many years, with some of us already 23 years, some others, because we're pretty stable lineup, with everybody already at least 13 years. And then you really have to like and respect each other. Otherwise, that's not going to work indeed.
yeah, and when it comes to for those sessions, is there anyone that is a bit more stubborn than the other when it comes to their ideas?
Oh yeah, there's definitely some stubbornness, but and some more than the others. But I also agree that with the more time progresses, the more the ego has to be put aside and even to be crushed. Yeah. So sometimes some stubbornness comes to the surface, but that is inevitable. We're all human. But the goal is to crush the ego completely and just let flow the inspiration with all of us. The most important thing is when 5 people say this idea is better, then you can fight for your idea, but there's not for nothing that 5 people say the other idea is better. Yeah. You have to let your own stubbornness go at such moment.
And when are those times where you think your idea is better than another idea? Do you guys normally tend to play both ideas and then see which one actually sounds better?
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes things end up also like with a 2-3 vote and somebody is like indecisive. Then it's difficult when you are one of the two and it's still your idea doesn't make it, because it was so close and both options are great. So there's one thing on the album where Simone and I, we had one direction and 3 other guys another direction. And then still when I hear that part, I think, but it's part of the crushing the ego as well.
Yeah.
The vote was done, so you have to go with the flow. Yeah. Also myself.
But, sometimes that's where the producer, can have, an important role, being the external ear and actually try to bring everyone together. With you, that works as well. Like when you guys are in a doubt of an idea, normally does he step in and says, let's go with this because I think it sounds better.
Yeah, he's definitely having that role, and as he is often right, then it's also easy to follow his opinion, because you can work with somebody and if the things he brings up, the ideas, everybody's like that's not a great idea, then it wouldn't work at all. But when he brings up something, that 95% of the time it's actually a really great idea. And it's only 5% of the time that he sometimes brings up an idea that everybody says, nah. Then you sometimes still have this kind of discussion, but then eventually it turns out that we were happy with our own little stubbornness in that case.
And the recording process, did it change as well? I mean, I was reading, I think you guys recorded, live or played together the songs. So was that like a nice change as well for you guys to feel the energy of those songs?
Yeah, and that happened also with the Alchemy project that we for the first time started recording like this indeed. And that's it's a very different way of working as well, that instead of everybody recording its own part, that you are together, at least one guitar, one bass, drums. That's a session we did together. And then still some layers we added later on, but the basis was done together. And then you get some kind of organic vibe that you also really cannot create if you do everything one by one. And also then the tendency is when you do one by one to do things too perfect. Yeah. And when you do things too perfect, it can become sound a bit clinical after all. Yeah. And that's what we definitely wanted to avoid. It has to be sometimes a little bit rough, and when there's a heavy part, it has to be some little imperfections make it actually sound much cooler. Yeah. And that's what we were aiming for. And that's I really also like this approach of way of working, and also that we will keep on doing like this in the future.
Yeah. Listening to the record, I had the vibe that it's really tight, everybody really playing well, but there's a feeling of a certain freedom that's happening on the songs. And I didn't feel there was any extra thing there that, didn't have its place there. Everything seemed to be right on the money, as they say, and there was like there was no fats at all on the songs, using like a term like that. I felt like it was really, the songs, even, longer ones, they were, perfect the way they are. I wouldn't change anything. I mean, I'm not a musician. I wouldn't change shit anyway. But
still, when as a listener you have the feeling to not change at anything, that still, even if you're a musician or not, you get a feeling of you like something or not. And then when you don't like something, you would want things to be changed. That's clear.
But you feel, this is your ninth record, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And it's always, I know this is a cliche question, but every musician will say probably their latest record is the best. Do you feel you guys are at the top of your game with Aspiral?
For me, it's always hard to judge. And I'm not one of these musicians that always says their last album is the best, because the older albums are too dear for me as well. Of course, one more than the other, that's natural. But yeah, we always do give our very best. And then in the end, it takes some years, and then people can look back, and then you find out which albums they like the most. For example, Omega, we also didn't know when we released that one that many years later, like now, or many years, it's only like four years. But even though 4 years already, people put that album in their top 3.
Yeah.
And at the moment of release, you are proud of it, but you don't know how it ends up. The same with Aspiral. We're really confident that we made something special, but it takes a few years to know what place it will get in our discography.
Yeah, I know it's probably, we need to give time, just like the wines at the end of the day. You need to give them time, and then they'll get, definitely. Normally they get better with time. I think records, it works the same. But, now it's, with a record, I feel this record, because it's fresh to me anyway, I feel it's probably the best that you guys have done. And
that's great to hear anyway. So
with the tour coming up, with 9 albums, with the new records, strong records, choosing a set list, it's an epic nightmare.
Yeah, that's true.
How are you guys going to, what is the frame of mind when you guys go to a upcoming tour to play shows for the Aspiral? You guys decided we have to play at least 4 or 5 songs. How that's going to work out to pick up a set list?
Yeah, we had some discussion already what to pick, and now it's easy to go for the few songs that people know already, that were released already, and then later on add some other songs that you also find out that people say we really want to hear this song live or that song live. And we are picking again some songs from old records that we haven't played in a long time, because the surprises often work also really well for our fans. It's, of course, everything has their advantages when you play some songs that you often play, that really for sure that goes really well because it's so in the routine. But also people want to be surprised at the same time. So you always have to find a nice balance with that. And so I think now that the set list we are working on, it's going to be pretty different from the set list we have played the last year. It's, I think like 80% or 75% at least different.
Yeah. And you guys are coming back to Portugal next year with Amaranth and Charlotte Vessels. You guys excited for that, tour? It's quite an exciting lineup, when it comes to like 3 bands that I actually really enjoy. And I'm like, when they announced it, I was like, no, they made this show for me.
Actually, we did it for you.
Thank you so much. Finally.
Yeah, your Christmas present.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you guys
I
excited?
must agree. It's really excited about this lineup, and also Amarante. I was already for a long time telling also to the others that would seem to me a band that would really fit together with us to do a tour with. And so first we worked on working with them, and when that was fixed, then Charlotte was our favorite option from the options that were available. Yeah. And so we have actually our dream lineup that we were aiming for. So yeah. Charlotte was the one we liked the most, and she said yes, so we didn't have to look further.
It's a dream to have something like that when everybody wants to do like a tour like this. It's going to be
Yeah.
exciting. I think it's going to be really, really successful. And I think it's, if someone likes Epic, I think they like Amaranth, they like Charlotte, and they're going to just enjoy all three bands.
Yeah.
I think it's really, it's a it's a tour for me.
Yeah, and surely there's quite some overlap between the fan bases, but there are still also some Epica fans that haven't listened too much to Amarante, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Also, there's quite some Amarante fans who probably not too much into Epica yet. So I think there's chances for all three of bands to play in front still of also a new crowd besides the overlap.
Yeah, and you earlier mentioned the Alchemy Project EP you guys did with with other guests, with other musicians. Would you like to do a follow up for that? It's something you did that during the pandemic, so it was different circumstances. Would you still like to do like a follow up, another EP, maybe full record? I don't know. Would it be something that would interest you guys to do?
Yeah, if it's whether it's going to be EP or a full record, we don't know yet. But the idea to make a follow up is definitely there, because everybody enjoyed it so much that if it fits somewhere in the schedule of the upcoming 2-3 years, then we will definitely go for it, because there's still so many people that we would like to work with, so many musicians that we really like, and now we can present them our first Alchemy project. When we did it for the first time, we had nothing to show to people. Yes. We just could present an idea. Now we can literally say, listen to that album, and that's something like in the direction we have in mind, that everything is possible, but just we want to go with the flow and see what comes to the surface. Because basically almost every song on the Alchemy project would have completely not existed if we hadn't worked with other musicians outside the band. Yeah. So it was refreshing, and also we did learn a lot from it at the same time.
Yeah. Do you see a possibility, if you're a musician, let's say like the guys from Flash God Apocalypse, if you guys play Italy, if they are in town, would you guys think of, let's try that song live?
That can always be possible, but that song was a tricky one, as it has a weird tuning that with one part being a little bit different tuned, and then so not the whole song has whole song has been played at once. So it's a tricky one, and I don't know how we would be able to play that one live, but we actually never tried. So maybe it is actually possible, but we will have to see about that. Would be cool, definitely, to play it with them.
Yeah. I picked the right song then to give an example.
Yeah, because pretty much all the songs on that album has been played also recorded in a live setting, except for that one that was more like recorded the old way.
And you guys played some shows with Metallica, those stadium. How was that experience, to play? First of all, the stage was a bit different from what you guys are used to anyway.
Yeah.
How was that experience for you guys?
Yeah, first of all, that stage, indeed, you have not a single moment of the whole show. You have a moment where you can hide yourself a bit. That's the thing I noticed right away from the beginning. So you're all the time, full time in the spotlight. And I'm sometimes also a little bit of an introvert, so I like to sometimes take my moments where I stand a bit in the back and just enjoy to watch the crowd, and nobody's watching me. I like that a lot. There was not possible, but it was fun as well. So then you have to go like the whole set, and I think we had like 1 hour set there. The whole set is just full force going for it, and that is also fun. And one of the shows, I had my Garmin with me. So I was tracking how many kilometers I actually did run on that show. I don't know by head anymore how much, but it's on my Strava account, that show, because it's really, you make a lot of kilometers that day.
It's something that you guys would like to repeat again if given the chance.
Yeah, and I also must add that really these Metallica guys, they were extremely nice with us. They one by one they came to our dressing room. For small talk, to ask if everything was all right. They were really interested in how we were doing, So, and I always think like after that moment, if Metallica can do that, take care so well of their support acts, any bands in the world should be able to do that.
I don't think it's difficult to be, you know, to be nice to people. I mean, it sounds silly to have to say something like that when it should be a natural thing to be nice. You know, I talk with musicians, you know, throughout these years, and some stories of being like a support band, and it's ridiculous. You know, why? You know, what is the intention of that?
I never get it because every band has been a support act themselves. I cannot imagine why you treat another band in a way that you really don't like to be treated yourself. We are all there for the same reason. We want to have fun. We want to make the crowd having a good time. And when the crowd sees like 2 or 3 bands that evening, depends on how many bands play or even more. If the crowd sees all these bands having a good time, the crowd is having a better time. So I never understand why some bands want to give their support band such a rough time. Then just go out there and play there only by yourself. Don't even bother giving them a call to come over and play with you, because if you want to be a jerk, just be a jerk on your own.
Yeah. You know, one of the I'm a photographer, and one of the things that annoys me the most when it comes to, you know, when there is 3 or 4 bands and the first band, it's when they are not allowed to use almost any lights.
That's also
that pisses me off so much. I'm like, you know, why? You know, why you put restrictions on a support act to have like a decent light show? I mean, some venues are already bad, let alone if you just can use red light or something.
I have a funny anecdote about that we were touring with a band that I won't name the name. And we were having a killer show each evening. And every day we got a new restriction because the headliner didn't like that it was going well for us. So every day there was another thing that we couldn't do anymore. And at the end, at a certain point, we were not allowed to have a light show. But we had a tour manager, and he went to the light engineer because nobody told us anything that day. And he went to the light engineer that was doing the lights, the local, because we didn't have a light engineer with us in the early days. So he asked him, why aren't you doing anything? The headliner told me I was not allowed to do anything. And he said, now start working. So we overruled him and he started working. But it's ridiculous that a headliner tells a light engineer. So if you have actually somebody sitting there ready to go, and he's not allowed to do anything. And just there were 2 lights on, and that was it. Come on, it was really ridiculous.
Yeah, I never understand that kind of behavior. Like if you feel threatened by a support band, then you're doing something wrong. You know, maybe you're not as good as you think you are. You know?
It's often insecurity of the headliner, because indeed, a band who is sure of themselves and knows they do a killer show, they're not afraid of their support act. And actually, when a support act is having a killer show, you can also give 110% yourself, right? So it's actually an extra motivation, because it indeed, you look a bit silly if the support act is great and you are a complete disaster. But that's your own responsibility.
Yeah. It's crazy. And, those Symphonic Synergy shows, Amsterdam and Mexico, how was that? It's not the first time you guys played with an orchestra, but how were those shows? First of all, how long did it take to plan, the orchestral arrangements and the show itself?
The whole preparation started already like 1.5 years before the shows happened. So it was a long process. And of course, it accelerated during time. So in the beginning, like 1.5 years before, there's little work, and then it becomes more and more and more till like exponentially till the shows themselves. But it's a lot of work, and also the scores have to be written, the rehearsals with the orchestra and choir, and they did already some rehearsals by themselves before we were actually doing rehearsals together. So it's, a lot of things to take into consideration. But then when you're actually on stage and everything is coming out the way you envisioned it, that's a great feeling.
Yeah. And you really need to be a good musician to play with an orchestra, because if you fuck up, you have to move forward and try to catch up because they won't stop.
Yeah, that was funny because there was one guy in the orchestra and he was saying, he said, I was so enjoying every the show. And I have the band very loud on my ear, so I hear everything. And I thought, shit, and I cannot make any single mistake because then he hears it right away.
It's, I think I think it only makes you better as a musician and probably as a songwriter as well, to see, all that environment working. And Mark, before we go, just a Wikipedia fact check. Was the name EPICA, was the name for the band EPICA taken from that Camelot record, EPICA? Was that?
Yes, that's correct.
It's a true fact.
We were in the studio. Yeah, it's a true fact because we were in the studio at Sasha Pit. And at that time, it was not known yet. Camelot was having a record going to have EPICA. And we were in the studio. We were not happy with our name, Sahara Dust. And we had no idea what to call our band. Then we saw the cover of the new Camelot album, which was laying around there. And it was called EPICA. And we thought, wow, that's actually an amazing band name. And also, we really like the Camelot music, which is a very, very good songwriting. So we thought 1 and 1 is 2. The great band, a dedication to Camelot, and we have a great name for our own band.
Cool. It's just to be sure if that was true or not, because sometimes there is stories there that everybody can
that's
write.
Actually true.
Everybody can write and edit on Wikipedia anyway, so you just want to be sure. Anyway, Mark, thank you very much for your time. All the best for Aspiral. Great record that I said. I think it's probably your best yet, but again, we have to wait a few years and look back at the discography of EPICA and see where we place it. For me, I never like to label things or put things. Everybody says, what's your favorite band? I don't know. I have so many bands that I like. Why should I pick one? Why should I pick a guitar player of all of them? I like Brian May, I like Tony Iommi. I like so many guitar players. Why should I choose one?
That's why I also have always mixed feelings about this these rankings of new albums, and then one becomes one and one becomes number last. Usually, almost every band someday they make a mess of their album, but almost every band does their very best to make the best possible album, and then you get this ranking. Yeah, I always have some mixed feelings about it.
Yeah, and that's why I normally don't write any reviews, because I like music, and for me it's it means something. And I think it's so personal. And again, I'm not a musician. I did study music a bit and play guitar and all that, but I'm not a musician. I have an understanding of it, but I don't feel like I should write about a band and say that arrangement or that vocal or that guitar part is not good. I mean, make a fucking record. If you think you're good and that part is bad, make a fucking record and show the world that you're better or whatever. It really sometimes annoys me reading some reviews, because, if you have done better, show us. And then, Elsa, you can judge that guy. But if you haven't, no.
And sometimes there's like one guy who's completely not into a specific style of metal, and then still has to give a note to an album. And then you often see, just because somebody doesn't like the style, gives a very bad note. And then I think, put your ego also there aside, because you can still hear, even if you don't like the style, you can still hear if an album is good or not. I, for example, if I had to give notes to bands, I would give them all a 10 out of 10. First of all.
That's,
But yeah, then secondly, if I don't like a style, I still can hear if it's good or not.
yeah, exactly that, and okay, I won't keep you longer. You probably have more interviews to do, so I'll stop.
Just a couple.
Yeah. We'll have plenty of time to talk probably, before the show in Lisbon anyway. So,
we will.
I'm looking forward to see you guys next year. All the best for Aspiral, and see you in Lisbon next year. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.